there's some areas that people have never gone into. I am in the fjords and I'm actually really close to sea level. I need to be aware of what happened in what part of the world.
Yeah, it sounds like if you're not in the loop as to what's going on around you, there could be some serious implications. And I'm hard pressed to find anyone else I know who has experienced such harsh and such disparate climates, all within the same region. So you mentioned, so you're specifically using the Iridium Extreme PTT, which is a great dual mode device, but allows you to have satellite phone capability, but also push to talk group communications. But on top of that, you're using the portable hotspot, the Iridium Go, which allows you to use your mobile device in the field. So could you share with me just how these devices and solutions intersect with the research you've been doing and how you've been utilizing them personally?
Yeah, well, it's been fantastic having access to both of them. So for a couple of years, I was just using the Iridium Go. It's fantastic because it just turns your actual mobile device into a satellite phone, which is incredibly convenient. You don't have to transfer information from one to the other. You can actually use that to send images if you need to. So it's a great piece of it's a great device. I really like using it. When I started using the PTT, I found myself that sometimes I just didn't want to just open up the device and wait for connectivity and all that. So having the PTT where I can just tell someone, hey, just keep this on all the time. I'm just gonna call you whenever I need to. So having the instant communication with someone about like what I'm doing at the same time, it's incredibly useful. When I go out into the field, I try to take one or the other. But when I go on long expeditions, I try to take both. So I do the PTT for constant communication. Sometimes what I do is I just tell the person that is back home, giving me or feeding me all the pertinent information for the weather, that I'm just gonna call them to let them know when to turn it on. So they turn it on, and I'm able to talk to them as I am transecting, a fjord or some other place. So they know that if there's something a little bit dangerous that I'm doing, crossing a glacier, crossing a lagoon, or the weather is not good, I like having that that safety precaution to let them know exactly where I'm getting into trouble if I haven't yet. But when I go out with both of them at night, I use the Iridium Go to actually send more information, messages, send everything that I would just back at home, to make sure that people get the information that they need if I'm doing a story in real time. Like I just upload information and photos so people can actually see what's happening at that moment and where I am. So having both means of communication is fantastic because you can actually go in, you can use them in between, and you can even like communicate with different people at the same time. So not necessarily having a conference call, but something like that. One of the things that I do a lot is when I encounter something that I believe is a new species, at least a range expansion down here is happening a lot. If I found 64 species, range extensions just triple that number, because down here where I go, it's a new extension of the range of different species or families or genera, depending on what I'm looking at. So then what I do is once I think I found something, but I don't have the means for me to actually check there because I don't take my computer with me, I call colleagues and be like, hey, I just found this genus. I think this is what it is. Let me describe it for you. Let me send you a photo. So having that, back and forward communication is incredibly important to actually be accurate on what I'm doing and the information that I'm gathering, because the last thing you want is go out into the middle of nowhere, spend 3 weeks getting there and observing the wrong species, which happened at the beginning, but now it's not happening anymore because I have all these ways of communicating with the right people and getting the right information to get the accurate results that I'm looking for.
Reliability and the flexibility, which is key. And it sounds like, knowing that you have a reliable line of communication that gives you the peace of mind to actually focus your efforts on the research that matters. And that last point was really great because it sounds like having these solutions, it enables you to have a sort of mobile and remote research facility instead of having to wait to go back to connectivity, and there's no gaps in communication there. So it's really cool how these sort of solutions enable and drive your research in ways that I would have never thought about before. And speaking of driving your research, what does the future of your research look like, and is there anything new that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, when it comes to even though what I do is not new, right? Because we know, the great feats and stories of Alexander von Humboldt, like the Darwin's Beagle trip around the world. I'm just doing it kind of very similar to the way that they did it, but I'm just doing it on my own. So what even though it's not something new, it's out of the ordinary because there's very few people that actually do that. A lot of my colleagues are not able to go into the field in the way that I do, or they don't have the experience with all the equipment that I end up using. So a lot of the times I end up doing collaborations and I end up being like the field assistant, right? So I'm the person, they're the experts on the actual morphology of the insect, but I end up being their collaborator or the expert on what that insect does in nature, which is incredibly important to protect any species. And, just put the name of the species, and in order to protect it and understand it, we need to know what it does in nature and how we can actually help it, what influence it has, right? So the future is just right now with the advances of technology, I'm able to actually go further out where I have not been able to go through before. So crossing more remote glaciers. That is one of my biggest focuses right now, is trying to understand the biodiversity that you find in waterways that are fed by the glaciers themselves. Since glaciers are disappearing, I'm trying to understand what of the diversity in here in this part of the world is actually completely dependent on those glaciers, to try to understand how to preserve it, how to conserve. It's very difficult to try to do conservation of the glacier itself, because that is it has to be a global consensus on how to have a less impact on that. So I cannot influence that directly the way that I want to. So my influence is, how can I save this species that's incredibly rare? So what I try to do is, and goes to answer your question, is what I'm trying to focus on is what are the needs of this species in those specific areas that I can actually duplicate in the lab and try to protect them. So think of it as a little nursery of sorts. So we can actually protect keystone species that we know that they have a huge impact in the environment. So we can actually relocate them to a stream nearby without taking them out of their ecosystem. So what I try to do is understand what groups and species are located in what areas, so you can relocate them from stream 1, which is going to dry, let's just say, in 5 years, to stream 2, which is going to dry out in 10 years, but making sure that it's within the same geographical scope, so you're not introducing species from one place to the other. So that is the biggest understanding in what I'm trying to do right now. So all my focus of exploration and discovery is going to start going a lot more into conservation, having students that can actually be passionate about what I do, teaching them everything that I'm doing here, so they can actually just continue doing the work that I do when I cannot do this anymore. This is incredibly demanding when it comes to the physical condition that you need to be in. And sometimes you just don't have a whole month to just go to one place and come back just to see one insect. So having passionate youth that wants to continue this work, it's key. So the next steps in that is taking what I have learned, try to find passionate people, in the local community specifically, to teach them what to do and how to understand the insects around them, so they can use them for furthering their lives in positive ways. And then just try to have enough people passionate about protecting all these rare groups that you only find in this area. So yeah, in ways, just you know raising an army of nerds to protect bugs.
No, I think that's such a powerful story, right? The ability to go into new environments in different places, go farther than you have before, but know that you're going to be safe, you're reliable, and you have a connectivity line if needed, has real world implications. These species you're discovering, definitely have an effect on the broader environment. And I like that last point, especially about the next generation, because one of my final questions is, do you have any advice for the next generation or someone who would like to follow in your footsteps and conduct scientific research in remote locations? What would you say to someone looking to do what you're doing right now?
Oh, well, I mean, first of all is be safe out there. That's the main thing, because this is something that just goes through my mind every single time. When I'm pack rafting and there is like a really cool class 4 rapid, but I have another person basically of worth of weight. So I'm carrying, because when I go out into the field, I carry anywhere from 40 to 90 pounds, or even more sometimes, depending on the research that I'm doing. If I'm taking if I'm taking microscopes and whatnot. So when I get to those points in which I know that it could be slightly unsafe, I don't take those risks out in nature, because in my train of thought is, if I were to have an accident, who is actually going to try to understand what I do? Or like all the stuff that I just collected in this trip and previous ones is going to disappear. So with the new generation is if anybody that is excited to do this kind of work needs to be safe first, because there's not that many of us that are willing to actually go to the farthest reaches where there's no support and make the wrong decision, because then that passion and that person that can really have a positive impact in the world is not going to be there anymore. So that is my first thing, just like safety first. Research where you're going, and get in touch with people. Like, even if no one else is doing what I do in the part of the world that you want to do research, you can actually reach to someone like me, so I can just tell you, for example, how communication is important, what kind of gear to take there, and what to focus on. So right now we are in a place that we can have access to to human knowledge in general in your own device. So if you can communicate with someone, that is key. You must have communication in order to know what you're doing. And if you don't know, there's a lot of people out there that will help you out. So if it comes to insects, I might not be the right person or the world expert on that specific group, but I can actually direct you to someone who is. So how you go by on that, from where you are looking at this into how can I just be out into the field? First of all is just believe in what you're doing and go out and do it. Don't wait until someone comes along with you, because you're never going to get anywhere. It's your life, they're your ideas, and it's your passion. No one is going to share all those three things. But you're going to find people that share one, two, or maybe you end up finding those people that share all three at one point in your life. So believe in what you're trying to do. Be smart about how you do any. Be smart about how you carry on with any idea that you want to take on, especially going out into nature. Be prepared for what you're going to be doing, and most importantly, just understand why you're doing what you're doing. If you want to go out and just be out in the wilds, that's one of the great things. But think about it, it's like, okay, you can be out in the wilds and be the first one to touch some place, but what if you actually have another motive, or like, I want to be the first one in this place and understand a specific thing in nature, and then have a purpose. I want to preserve it. I want to take some photos so people understand the beauty of these places. And if you're like me and you want to put all of it together, then let's talk about great ways of making a positive impact in this world. I mean, I focus on insects, but I do encounter all kinds of animals and plants out there. I'm not an expert on that, but yeah, collaboration is the key. You can do so much as one individual, but you can do a lot with other people. So you are going to be as smart as the people you surround yourself with. So That's always in my mind. And again, communicate. We have that ability to do that and the means of doing so.
That's such great feedback, and I think your work is so fascinating, and the need for reliable communications, safety, peace of mind, and the ability to go into new environments has real world implications, as you've discussed today. And we at Iridium are thrilled that the Extreme PTT and Go are enabling your research, and I think it's very important to highlight stories such as yours to show the broader community that there are uh, areas that you can go, and there are ways to stay connected even in the harshest environments. So, thank you again. We are avid supporters of you and your research, and we'll continue to support your connectivity needs. And really appreciate the time today you've taken to tell everyone your story.
Oh no, well, anytime. And then thank you for all the support. And I don't know, my gratitude, it goes beyond words. This could not happen without that. If I didn't have communication, I don't know if I'll be doing what I do. And thank you for the support.
Yeah, thank you.